get my 6. Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid, the most popular homesteading channel on YouTube that has nothing to do with homesteading. Welcome back for another tale for a beautiful October evening, soon to be an October night. As you can hear by the crickets, I've gotten a bit of my nerve back, so I'm coming out a little bit later. I'm sitting at the edge of a field where it meets a forest on top of a hill. We're yet even closer to Halloween, which means the veil is even thinner. So tonight, I'm going to read you a few stories sent in by viewers, like you, maybe you if you're one of them, from the True Hauntings Volume 1. This is going back more than a year, close to 2 maybe. Personal stories of real experiences with the paranormal, supernatural, cryptids, aliens, and UFOs. I'm going to read you 3 stories, and I like them because they're all different and they all have to do with different phenomena, but they're all united in that they all have to do with all things weird or something weird. And I would like to encourage you, if you have an experience that you'd like to share with folks, you can do it anonymously. I think 2 out of the 3 on here of tonight's stories are remaining anonymous because they asked to be. But you can send it to the channel. The email address is crazylake@mail.com. And with your permission, we'll share it on the channel or in an upcoming volume of True Hauntings, or both. We're putting together Volume 5 because stories have been rolling in all October. People are getting their spooky stories out as we've been telling these October night tales. So, with no further ado, as my beautiful bride dearly would say, aka Giggly Girl, let's get to it. Yeah, you can tell how long ago this was. Look at the author's photo on the back. That's back when I actually used to visit barbers. Wow, that picture was taken right here. See that cedar tree? But it was in the dead of winter, it looks like. So first we have a story called We Have Visitors. Here is my UFO story. Just keep it anonymous, please. UFOs, I've seen many, but this is the best one. I like to stand on my porch and gaze at the stars. I love nature and feel drawn to it. One night I was stargazing, looking out over my neighbor's property when I noticed a bright whitish light. Nothing too unusual about that, as they have a floodlight on their outbuilding. But then the light, rose above the building, and I noticed the red blinking lights. Must be another airplane, I say to myself. I'm so tired of everything in the sky being called airplanes. This airplane hovered for a few moments, rising slowly, gently wobbling a little as it did so. Then it started moving toward me slowly, until it was so close that it moved around my next-door neighbor's tree. That's when the humming started. You know, the sound, that sort of womp, womp, womp noise they make. Then it got even closer, hovering maybe 15 feet above the ground and maybe 20 to 25 feet away from me. It stayed there for a few moments, long enough for me to wonder if it could see me. I was starting to feel warm as I observed every detail of this thing. I wondered if the warmth was from the UFO or just a warm breeze. Then it got even closer. I wasn't imagining the warmth. It was hot, and it crept even closer, and I got the definite feeling I was being watched, enough that it felt ominous, like it had some intent for me. It was the first and only time I've ever been scared of one. They don't normally get that close. I was scared enough that I backed up with my hand on the doorknob. If you want to say hi, that's fine, but please don't abduct me, I said. I was afraid it might. I've never had one get that close. How close? I swear, Mr. Lake, I easily could have hit the damn thing with a rock if I'd had one in my hand. I'm not lying, I have no reason to. After a bit of it staring me down, it backed up, rose, hovered a moment or two more, and then went off, changing direction as it did so until it flew off out of sight. Honestly, I was just glad to have my feet still on the ground. If you want to know what it looked like, it was blue and round, sort of dome-shaped. The underneath part was silver/metallic and spinning slowly with white strips of light showing between the panels. On the backside, it had a fin like a 50s car. It even had 3 red taillights. And on top, it had a smaller whitish yellowish dome, much smaller than the body. About the right size to be a cockpit, maybe. The end. Wow. That's a very close encounter of a fourth kind, sounds like. Remember to get my 6. You never know who or what may or may not show up in the backdrop of these videos, especially as night approaches. Okay. Gotta stay hydrated. I mountain biked 16 miles earlier today. All right. This one is called Ghost Train. I guess they wanted to remain anonymous too. Don't even have a name here, so. I was in the kitchen cooking as I often do, me being a mom and all, when I started to hear something going by the house. That's not unusual. I do live near a road, but this was big. It sounded bigger than a semi-truck. When the rumble started and the house shook a bit, windows rattling. Earthquake? I wondered out loud. No, but the rumbling intensified, as did the shaking. Then I started to hear a whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Then bells. You know, the ding, 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 ding of train warning bells. But we don't live anywhere near a train track. I looked out the window to see what was going on, and I saw it. I swear, I saw a bluish-gray, spectral, see-through-ish train, complete with mist, wisps of smoke and steam from the smokestack, and ghostly passengers. The passengers came in all different attitudes. Some were scared, some looked resigned. Some looked terrified enough that they were trying to escape through the windows. Some were screaming, and some stared straight ahead, oblivious to it all. Some looked out the windows with faces distorted from what must have been solid glass to them. The sound it made was the worst thing of all. I mean, of course, the train itself was deafening, but the screams, Have you ever been to an amusement park and heard the overlapping screams of dozens of people on the roller coasters, all mashed together? It was like that, but more terrifying. It took me a while to recover enough that I could speak about this. When I did, I told my daughter, who was also my best friend, and who I knew, even if she didn't fully believe me, would at least not laugh at me. She listened calmly while I described in detail what happened, and then she said, "Oh yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's been coming by for months now, almost every night, usually between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. I looked once and then decided never again. We discussed the faces and how sad and horrifying they were. I'm just surprised that you saw it during the day and on that side of the house. Usually it comes by one of these two windows," she said, pointing to her windows. Apparently, this thing follows a time schedule, but no set track or direction. I have stayed up late to talk to her after I put the younger kids to bed, and sometimes we still hear it. We sit quietly and listen, waiting for the rumbling and screaming and house shaking to stop. Neither of us speaks until it passes, and neither of us bothers to look. The end. Wow, that's creepy. I would be curious as to if there were ever railroad tracks going through there, maybe a long time ago, and there's no mention of where this happened. You just never know. There's such deep histories everywhere. I know throughout the mountains of Appalachia, there are places where there were, trains 100 years or more ago, where there haven't been trains for 100 years or more. And I would find such trussels or tracks, like old trails in the woods when I used to hunt back there. And just the stories that, a lot of those old logging camps, people were always killing each other. You could kill somebody out in those woods and bury them, and they'd never be found, and you'd never be questioned. And then, of course, if, we're down in the South, there's even more history because it's older down here. So, I don't know, I'm kind of starting to ramble. I'd like to know the story behind that story is what I'm getting at. All right, so now we've got one called One of Those Things That Are Hard to Explain, from Kristen in Rockford, Illinois. Dear Sir, thank you for your channel. I really enjoy something different to watch and listen to. My story is a little different. I am 55 years old, and this happened when I was in second grade. I was one of those kids who wanted to swim but couldn't swim a lick until my parents signed me up for lessons at the neighboring town YMCA. My first session, I stood in the corner of the pool and refused to do anything. I was that scared. But as the weeks and months went by, I began to swim more. Then it happened. Lessons were over for the Saturday, and I was going through the shower room when my foot slipped from under me and I hit my head on the concrete and tile knee knocker That's when it began. I, to this day, can't remember much of my life for the remainder of that year and before. Recently, I had begun to dream very vivid dreams, complete with sounds, scents, and textures. While my mother was alive, I would describe the persons, places, and things in my dream. The crazy thing is, these dreams were of actual people, houses, and places that I had seen when I was between the ages of 2 and 4 years old and hadn't seen for 51 years now. Since then, I have been having these dreams of different events from school. Since my mom's passing, the dreams related to relatives have stopped altogether, and now I don't dream. I wonder if her passing severed the tie to the old house and all the memories I had to my childhood. Sincerely, Kristen, Rockford, Illinois. That's a really interesting story. It's like, it sounds like traumatic brain injury, TBI, but the brain works in such amazing ways we can't even begin to understand or explain. So the memories, she could not remember what happened during that period of her life because of the TBI, but subconsciously her brain could by way of dreaming. That's really amazing, isn't it? That's incredible. So there's 3 stories submitted by viewers. If you like these, you can get them on Amazon in print or Kindle. You can get autographed copies from our Etsy store during the periods of the year when our Etsy store is open. We travel a lot. We're out of state, out of the country, just out of the hemisphere sometimes. So you got to watch for that to be available. But they're always available on Amazon. And that's just a squirrel barking, potentially. See you for more next time.